All right. Good morning, 11 o'clock. Nice to have you with us. Just about 72 degrees, I think, is where we're hovering right now in the Granite City, Barre, Vermont. Good to have you on board. Thank you so much. I'm J.D. Green. Appreciate your eyes and your ears this time around on Aired Out. I have a guest next to me, and Yana, I've been wanting to have you on for weeks now, if not I would say maybe a month and a half or so, if I had to guess. And it is fantastic that you are here and you are with us. Yana Walder. And you live Montpelier.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you for coming in here.
Thanks for having me.
You're from the Ukraine.
Yep.
You're from Ukraine.
Yes.
And here we were just talking about that just a little while ago, that we don't have to use the word the. How has it been for you? I mean, kind of a dumb question, but how are you holding up? How are you doing?
It's kind of hard not to feel isolated. I don't have very many Ukrainian friends here. I have found community since the war started.
Yeah. Oh.
Yep. And I mean, the beginning of the war was just really difficult. I was just completely incapacitated. I think I just spent most of my time on the couch. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I was on the phone constantly with my mom and my sister, and they're always crying, or there's bombing going on and screaming, and the people they're hiding with are all. It was very, very traumatic.
It's like a movie. I mean, I cannot imagine being in your shoes.
People could not imagine in Ukraine that this was going to happen. I can say I can't imagine this is happening. But even for my mom who lives there, she's like, I can't believe this is what's happening.
Right.
I mean, no one in the last 30 years of Ukrainian independence, people are very settled. They feel safe. They have, in my city, Kharkiv, just enormous amounts of money were spent to beautify the city, to make it a tourist European destination. No one, these, just the people who have come into my life recently, these single moms who have always raised their kids on their own, have never asked anyone for anything, and now all they're doing is just trying to, find safety for themselves and their kids. So, like, it's just down to the basics, food and shelter. And
right.
But, yeah, and...
Have you seen pictures of this city that was being beautified?
Before the war?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all my friends live there. My sister and her husband and 2 kids live there. I went to high school there, and actually, since the beginning of the war, like, all of my kind of high school classmates have resurfaced again, and we're all communicating and talking.
Have you seen pictures of the city since the war?
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, this war is different from any other war that we've had, is by the way that it ends up online. Something happens, 2 minutes later you have a video of it and pictures.
That's right.
So I follow some of these channels on the app called Telegram, and literally as soon as something happens, you know what's going on.
Right. Whether you want to or not.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could just not open the app, but it's hard because it feels very, very close. And, by some chance of luck, I'm here in U.S. In 2001, I ended up here, but it could be me, with my kids in Ukraine right now under bombs, or raped or murdered, or rotting on the streets of Bucha, basically, just because I have Ukrainian blood.
Amazing.
No other reason. So
it's all unfathomable to me. It really is. Your mom is there. Your sister is there.
Niece and nephew.
And your niece and nephew, her kids, and they're all in a hotel.
So
in Slovakia.
Yes, in the beginning of March, My sister evacuated first with a group of moms and children, and they made it on the train to the border with Slovakia and then crossed the border and got to this hotel. And I'm not sure like how my sister ever found this. Basically, it's a hotel in the mountains where people go to spend like some summer or something. But they took all of this 80 beds and gave it to refugees, and I think Slovakian government pays something for them staying there, so they don't have to pay for they have to figure out their own food, and they're like all organized. It's very funny. It's like summer camp. The women have like shifts. They're cooking, they're cleaning, the kids are being educated. It's very they got organized in like 5 seconds as soon as they got there. And
you're able to stay connected to them with your phone.
Yeah, absolutely. Crazy. This is absolutely crazy with the internet did not go out in Kharkiv for the whole duration, while my mom and my sister were there.
That would have been the last straw for you.
I mean, I can't imagine how, Second World War or any other wars where you don't have the connection
exactly
to someone. My mom would, as soon as the bombing started, she dialed me and, called me, and we would I would stay on the phone with her. And that's crazy. I'm not qualified to do that. I can hear the planes, passing above the house, and they're just so low. The sound, I can't, how do you say?
Just describe it.
I can't describe it. It's nothing. It just makes like your entire guts like liquefy and just drop. It's nothing that a person should ever hear in their lifetime. And the missiles, the kind of the whistling that turns into like that train rumbling sound, and it sounds like it's like coming from my mom's house, for her apartment, and the people she is hiding with in the basement are all screaming and crying, and
and you can hear all this.
It's absolutely just, the experience was very difficult, and that was all day long, all night long. They wouldn't stop bombing, and they still haven't stopped bombing Kharkiv. They had a quieter few days, maybe 6 days, and I actually just suspect it was a trap, because a lot of people started returning to Kharkiv, like people just desperate to come back and at least see what happened to their homes, or they don't have housing and they just really want to go back to their place where they lived. And just yesterday was just, the whole entire city was bombed again.
I heard.
10 people died, including a baby.
Yeah. I heard this yesterday afternoon, or early evening, this news that yesterday was a particularly difficult day.
It's a trap. You see what they're doing, right? Like, they want the people back so that they just can continue doing more damage. And we actually have a Vermont person who went to Poland to volunteer to drive a van from Poland to Kharkiv to deliver some supplies. I'm not sure exactly what. Might have been some help for the military or humanitarian aid. I think there were 2 vans, and this person is from Vermont. He is there, and he was caught in this bombing. So they're okay. Their vans were damaged, and then they gave assistance to like 2 people on the street who were injured. So he might be also a really good person to talk about this once he comes back. So
gotta find him, and you'll help me get his name and everything, right?
Yeah. Ooh. I'm just so thankful that he's alive, and
You have friends in Poland, Bulgaria, Vienna. Where else?
So a lot of, just kind of like high school and college girlfriends, or I have some godchildren. I call them godchildren, but it's from my work with the orphanages back in 2008 through like 2011. they're just about, kids I couldn't adopt because of the age difference was not enough. But I just stayed in their life and continued to support them, and we're just really good friends now. So a few of these girls left. So one of them is in Vienna, one of them is in Bulgaria. Actually, the one in Bulgaria I'm hoping to bring to here to U.S., to Vermont, to my house. So she's a sweetheart, and she's just having a really hard time in Bulgaria alone. Even though she speaks the language, she studied, Bulgarian relations, history. But I think she's just a really good candidate to come to Vermont and kind of start over. She doesn't have kids and
thrive.
Yeah, I think this would be a good opportunity for her. But most of my high school, college girlfriends, some folks are in Poland. They all have families. Some women choose not to leave Ukraine because their husbands cannot cross the border. So right now, you as a man of a certain age, I think under 70 years old, you're not allowed to leave the country. So some women don't leave because of that. But I have a girlfriend in Poland. One of them just left like a few days ago, so I'm not even sure where she's going to end up. So, kind of just thrown all around. At the beginning of the war, my sister's husband was actually in Turkey, so he flew to Turkey to, bring a puppy for sale. And he was supposed to hop back on the flight and come back on the 24th. And, at 5 a.m, my sister called him and she's like, they started bombing. You can't come back home. And just imagine as a man, as a father, to be, your family is being bombed to hell. I mean, it was a blanket of bombs and shells, and I don't know the names of all the weapons that they use, missiles, rockets, I don't know, they're all different.
I'd lose my mind.
He sat in Turkey for maybe 3 days, and then literally on foot through Bulgaria, so just through Turkey, Bulgaria, and he crossed back into Ukraine and hopped on an empty train from Western Ukraine into Kharkiv. So there were evacuation trains, coming out of Kharkiv, evacuating just, thousands of people and coming back empty. So he was alone the whole entire train.
And he went the other direction.
Yeah.
He came in.
And as soon as he got home,
oh my God, this gives me goosebumps hearing this.
He drove them through the city, again, under shelling. And there's a very limited window during the day when you could drive in the city. So like 10 a.m. to like 4 p.m. That's it. And the rest, you're not allowed to leave your houses. So he dropped them off the rail station. And then it's the largest, it's a one central huge rail train station in Kharkiv. It's full of women, children, and the bombs are falling.
Outgoing.
They're leaving Kharkiv,
Yeah.
but they're in the train station because they have to wait for the train. Nothing is like on a schedule. It's just whenever train is available, it pulls up, people run, fill it up, all the lights are turned off, all the phones are turned off, and like kind of like a dark bullet, it just keeps going through Ukraine, just trying to avoid, because such a concentration of people with their phones on, they thought might be a target. So phones off, however many 24 or more hours on this train is just no stops, no food, no bathroom. You're just, people on the floor, in the hallways. That's and while they're waiting for the train, so my mom was telling me when she was evacuating, she like leaned on this giant column, like a marble or granite column that was like, it's an amazing, beautiful train station. And she could hear it shuddering because of the bombings. And every time the bomb, explodes, it's like, you imagine being among like 500 people in this train station and everyone's just like with their breath caught in their, it was just unbelievable, crazy experience.
I mean, literally, what you're describing seems like war from the old days, from many days gone by. I can't believe this is happening right now.
I know. It's unbelievable. In 2022, I mean, every day they're dropping millions of dollars of warfare, of rockets, of missiles. Like every single one of those, whatever kind of rockets is $1 million.
Yeah.
Every single plane, many millions of dollars, and that does not go to like improve society or build something or research or science. It's going to like what, just a black hole.
Yeah, of course it is. Exactly. Destroying everything.
Yeah, and while it's happening, of course, they're just the sheer scale of destruction in Ukraine of all the infrastructure, every single glass making plant, concrete making plant, iron, steel making plant. Everything is destroyed. Tractor, motors, turbine plant, every single, so that even if this ended tomorrow, to start to rebuild, you don't even have any functioning production of any of it.
Sure.
Every bridge has been blown out, so.
Wow.
The amount, I think that there's, what was the number? I don't want to. So 3,500, I think, was like the most recent number of the houses that they hit in Kharkiv. So those are houses that are destroyed and need to be rebuilt. And that's not just one house. It's like an apartment building. And sometimes you can't rebuild it. So 20, 30, 40 people out of housing. And that's the reality.
Single dads and women that you are trying to provide some assistance to has been your primary mission in your life here over the last couple of months. People that have been displaced. The price of food, I can't even fathom what that could possibly be. People that have no income coming in. What are you trying to do, Yana?
So in the beginning of the war, so there was an article in Vermont Digger, and that generated about $20,000 of donations via PayPal, and people just emailed me checks. And I spread that money around among many different causes. So the restaurants, for example, in Kharkiv, they were, right away within 1 or 2 days converted to field kitchens. And they're cook for elderly disabled who couldn't evacuate, who can't go down and procure food for themselves. They deliver food to the places where there's no water or gas and you can't cook food. So even if somebody dropped off a kilo of rice, you couldn't cook it for yourself. So they deliver like home-cooked meals, restaurant-cooked meals in these like giant vats. So I supported a lot of that. So food first, hospitals and medications, women who are about to give birth, so birthing hospital for, anything that they might need, infants, diapers and baby formula. So I donated to volunteers who deliver that to those in need. And a little bit for animal rescue, for evacuations of people from Chernihiv and from Kharkiv. So I donated some money to pay for gas. The gas is expensive too. Let's see, what else? Folks who close off the broken windows with, what do you call that? Plywood and plastic, so that people can stay in their apartments and continue living there. So kind of a whole range of causes, and that way I made a lot of connections with people. So by just talking to volunteers, you get them on video, you have a chat, you kind of know what the person is all about. You see them posting, they send you videos of all the food delivered or receipts of what they bought. And so kind of delivered I developed relationships with the volunteers all around Ukraine. I mean, I think now if you ask me for a polka dot purple striped chicken, I'd find it for you in like 2 hours. So
That's absolutely amazing.
the whole Ukraine is a network of volunteers. I don't think Ukrainians have been this activated from the inside for 100 years. For survival and for protection of the children, mostly. I think that when that stuff started happening to the kids outside of Kyiv, everyone just absolutely stepped up and started doing something, whatever they could. If you can't donate money, you're reposting, you're calling people, or whatever it is, just trying to.
So you're seeing the results of what your fundraising efforts have produced here in Vermont.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're
right.
You're literally seeing the results of it.
I always make sure that whatever cause I'm supporting, I watch their social media, and then any volunteer in Ukraine will send you receipts or whatever it is that you need, videos. And then since maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, maybe 6 weeks now at this point, I don't know. For me, after that, it's like 24th of February, black hole. Now it's summer, so
Yes,
I don't even know.
that's right.
I don't even know for how long I've been doing this, but somehow, I'm not sure how, my name and my phone number just, I think maybe I helped a few people with just cash donations, and it made it out, and, women, especially single moms who are just, it's, one parent and children, single moms or single dads, they find me and reach out asking for help if I'm able to help. And, the first week I had money, so I would, I get on the video with them, I talk to them, find out a little bit about their needs and the urgency and sort of what the situation is, and then send them, say, $100 or $125 or $150, or if, something is really going on, sometimes up to $300, and I thought, okay, at the end of this week, when I run out of money, this is probably the last time I'm doing this. And then somehow, more women come looking for help, and somehow more donations come. So
Wow.
I don't even have a name or page or website or anything. It just kind of.
Is it going? So everything is. You. In other words, you haven't started a Facebook page or a website.
Nothing. No GoFundMe.
Just through you directly.
I have reached out to a lot of my friends to help me cover these requests, and professional contacts, actually in the commercial real estate in Burlington, Vermont.
Yep.
I mean, I'm kind of blown away by the support. I can write to someone and say, I have 12 women and I want to send $100 each. Will you help me with $1,200? And literally the only thing I get back is like, it's in the mail. And that's from the professional contact. So I'm super grateful for that.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Bulk shipping things and the logistics involved with that, I can imagine, would be hugely complicated.
Very complicated.
Coming from a country where you well know, I mean, it's all over the headlines that we have our own supply chain shortage and staffing issues and whatnot. But to be able to organize something like this where finances can get transferred electronically to areas that are in a much better proximity to Ukraine than we are, and get those supplies.
Yeah.
Logistically, it would be a lot easier to get it transferred.
I think it's the best way to help directly to the people who need it. And the other side of it is the volunteers who have a car, gas, they can drive, and they can go pick up supplies for, say,
that's it,
90-year-old grandmas and people who are bedbound. I mean, a lot of the folks that are currently not evacuating from more or less war zones, on the eastern front and down south, is because they cannot evacuate. They either have elderly folks, disabled folks that they cannot, they can't move, and people, especially women, will not leave because they're taking care of elderly parents, or they just won't take kids and leave. or they're poor. They don't have the money. They don't have any resources to. It's a mistake if people think like if you just get to the border with Poland, there'll be everything. It's not. People
Right.
sleep on the train station until they are able to find some help, or it's 200 of those field kind of camping beds in a
Cots.
in a gym
Yeah.
and you can't live like that for very long.
Sure.
So a lot of people stay.
So you've been video chatting with
Yep.
complete strangers.
Oh man, that could be like hours. They cry. A lot of women cry, and actually, I was just completely nailed. I think it was what is this Friday? Last Saturday, I talked to a man with a 5-year-old boy, and they're currently in Mariupol, which is under Russian occupation. And he's asked me for help because they want to leave the city. He's like, things are not good. There's no food. His son looks like this, is very skinny, and they're in some room somewhere. And to leave, I mean, it's like almost impossible to leave Mariupol. I really don't understand why Russians come in and they occupy, but they won't let Ukrainians out, so that they could get back into Ukrainian held territories.
Yeah.
So in Mariupol, I mean, that's where the steel plant was, where like the last holdout of the soldiers, Ukrainian soldiers, was. They're right on the shore with Azov Sea. Which is like exit to the Black Sea. So it's a kind of strategically important city, but it's been under occupation for a long time. There's no food. It's an absolute humanitarian disaster. There are corpses of people rotting on the street because the Russian, whoever this 19-year-old kids, the Russian soldiers, they're not going to pick up rotting dead people. Dogs eating that, humans. There's a threat of cholera. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Because of the drinking water problem, so it's just absolutely atrocious. But he says, okay, it's me, my 5-year-old son, and our neighbors. We have a car. We're willing to drive. And he starts crying, because he's like, people constantly coming under, shooting. There's the Russian soldiers. They just shoot cars. They shoot people in the legs, including children, if they just don't like something. If the night before, I don't know, something didn't go the way they wanted to, they just take it out on people. And cars sometimes stay in line of 1,000 cars to try to get through a block post to get back into Ukrainian held territory. Sometimes they stay there for 4 days under like this sun that we've had, which is like 95 degrees or whatever. It's just hot. With kids, so I was like, okay, we'll find you the money to get a bunch of food and water. And then I'm like just texting every single volunteer that I know that works with Mariupol. And they sent me, like, I was just so elated, 2 routes out of Mariupol that people have used in the last 48 hours. So things like keep shifting, changing, but this particular, they were like, okay, so just give them that should be. And that's, like, turn left at some field at the tree, just trying to avoid as many of these block posts as possible because they interrogate people. So they strip men completely naked to look for any tattoos. If you have any Ukrainian affiliated tattoo, they shoot you on the spot. You're considered a Nazi. A Nazi and a nationalist is like 2 different terms, but okay, they don't understand. The girls, women are interrogated. If they like the way you look, they rape the girls right there. They hit them, with the butts of their rifle in the head, and they ask you who you support and who you voted for and where are the Nazis hiding. It's just like this. The obsession with the Nazis, I really don't understand. So just to get through the blog post is this challenge, and this father was crying because he thinks there's a chance that they will not let him out because he's a young man, so like in his maybe 20s or 30s, of a fighting age, considered a threat in some way, right? And he says, so I might have to let my 5-year-old go into Ukraine with my neighbors. And he's just crying, because it's just or they might take his child away and deport the child into Russia and do who knows what to this guy. I haven't heard from them. So I sent them the money, and we decided just not to, communicate for 7 days or so that they could, get through. I wouldn't, because they checked the phone too.
Sure. Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to incriminate him in anything if he's in unsafe circumstances. And here we are in 2022, talking about that. I'm going to text him, is your son coughing still? And if he says, yes, he's coughing, I know they're unsafe. Welcome to 2022. Code words.
This is absolutely, I'm mind-boggled.
It's crazy. It's crazy that this is what we're doing. And I'm just I'm super anxious for them. Like, I don't know if they'll be able to make it out. And this 5-year-old boy, it just was like right in my heart as a mother. And I could chat with him for like 5 seconds on video, and that thing is like the cutest thing in the world. It's just
how is your mom and your sister and her kids doing?
So my mom is okay. She's
how old is mom?
She's born in 1956. I don't know how old. She's okay. She feels like she's stuck in the waiting room, like a fish in a fishbowl, just waiting for something to happen. She really wants to go back home. And my sister is very angry. She is very angry. She says, that Russia took away my children's future. Like in one day, her daughter was at art lessons, singing lessons, and all the things are gone in 1 second. And they are in school. The kids are, they're teenagers. They're in school in Slovakia using Google Translate to communicate with the teachers. But the teachers are very supportive. The kids are super supportive. Everyone's just been, amazing toward them. So they're okay. But they're also not okay because they want to go home.
Right. And I think that was one of the questions I had for you was, are you implementing any kind of efforts to bring your mom and your family here to America?
So, honestly, in the beginning of the war, very complicated to explain, but my mom did have an open case to come here, which was closed 2 years ago, and I tried to reopen it just so she could hop on a plane and be safe. And it didn't work out because it was way before, it was in the very beginning of the war. It was way before the United for Ukraine program or before USCIS shifted some of the maybe laws or regulations, and they just were operating as normal, and she didn't end up getting the visa. So then she was safe in Slovakia, and I honestly have just been concentrating on people who are still in Ukraine and trying to help, and also working here in Vermont, working full time. So I know my mom is safe. It's not a super pressing need to bring her here. I am, working on, because she has a bit of a disability, I'm working on doing something to my house so that when she does come, she's comfortable. But not yet. But it sounds like maybe one of my goddaughters, Anya, might be coming. So United for Ukraine is a program of like an expedited visa for 2 years for Ukrainians. They can come to U.S. and as a Ukrainian, you're required to have a U.S. sponsor. So someone has to fill out a financial sponsorship form saying, I make more than the minimum wage and I take responsibility for this person, meaning that once they come to U.S., they're not going to apply for any state help or any of that stuff.
Yep.
So, and then you need a person who will host you, right? It doesn't go on the application, but, someone can just sign, I take financial responsibility, but then you need to find someone who maybe has a room for you in their house.
Sure.
So Anya, she can stay with me. That's not a problem. But the folks can work for 2 years. They're legally in the country, and I think it's a great program. So I'm going to try it out.
But Ukrainians and your family, you were saying, and refugees in general aren't really, they want to just go home.
It's very surprising. I mean, I've talked to more than 80 people, mostly women, single moms, and maybe to 5 or 6 of them I've offered, I've sent information about United for Ukraine or some forums of like Ukrainian Boston where folks are talking about these topics, or where you could find someone to host you. And no one is in a huge rush. I'm not sure, I don't know what this phenomena is, but people want to be home. They don't, they had everything up until 24th of February. I mean, honestly, when I left in 2001, for maybe 9 years, I was sending financial help to my mom and my sister and my girlfriends from college, because they just was not enough financial money. You're right. Economy was kind of in the toilet, and but in the last 10 years, I didn't have to do any of that. Ukraine was doing perfectly fine.
Yeah, doing well.
Yeah. So
wow.
It's kind of amazing, but most people, they just want the war to end, and they want to go back to their houses and to their beds and rebuild. They don't want, I don't know. I mean, unless you're maybe a young, a young person who might still want to take a chance and go to U.S.
And see some culture. Some
young families I see in the Boston, Ukrainian Boston group. I see some families with kids or younger couples. So there's some men who have a kind of like are not able to serve in the military, who are able to leave Ukraine. So
sure.
you might see some of those coming to U.S. Yeah, surprising.
What are you going to do next? What's the next plan?
I don't know. People keep telling me I should do some kind of registered foundation, or I mean, I don't really know much about that. I think that nonprofits are under a lot of regulation. I've been having this nonprofit conversation in U.S. and in Ukraine in the last week.
A lot of regulation, yeah.
So I think there's, I imagine myself as a mother with 2 kids in Ukraine needing help. And right now, yes, in Ukraine, if you have more than 3 kids, and if you left an area that is currently active war zone, you can qualify for like a $200 payment from Red Cross. But for that, you have to meet this very specific criteria. And so a lot of people just don't qualify, or they might have left their home, but it's not currently an active war zone, or they have 2 kids and not 3, or their husband is MIA in the war, and they don't have a death certificate, so they're not a single mom. So I imagine myself, so, you don't need to be a saint with like perfect documents. There should be some dignity in, you can be in a place where you need help, independent of any of that. And I just want to be able to deposit $100 into a Ukrainian bank card with no people in the middle, no foundations, no nonprofits. I don't pay myself. I don't want, the president of Save the Children Foundation, which Vermont donated $400,000 to, or $460,000. She makes $530,000 a year. So, Vermont's donation paid for 9 months of her salary. So I just, this is my problem. I just want to be able to take the money and give it to the people directly. And even now, there's even a way, like, if you want to send $100 to a woman in Ukraine, I'll give you people who have already vetted. So here's their card number, here's their picture, here's their name and their kids, and you can use a service called PaySend. You don't even need to register. You put in your phone in there. They send you a text message. They verify you, and you can transfer money from your bank account to their bank account in something like 10 minutes, and the fee is not even that big. So there are options to help directly.
I'm writing as fast as I can here. This seems like this is more than just a grassroots organic effort that you have. This seems more like you're a vigilante.
I do think that there's a lot of, like, I call it like frustrated cargo, like, for example, people sending like red stilettos to Ukraine with the humanitarian aid, they'll never be used. Similarly, with the Save the Children, I couldn't find what they're doing in Ukraine currently. They have some programs in Poland for refugees, and it's around education of children, and I understand, but in Ukraine, there are kids who have nothing to eat. So education is like kind of in the background right now. I think it's just the basics. And the same with the Red Cross too. At first, I was hearing from the volunteers, yes, Red Cross is delivering some food supplies to Kyiv, which is an eastern border with Russia. There's a lot of fighting going on.
How do you spell that, by the way?
The what? Kyiv?
Yeah.
Kharkiv.
One more time.
Kharkiv.
KIV. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go right ahead.
And then, Red Cross opened some camp of some sort in Russia for Ukrainian refugees. I mean, Ukrainians should not be deported against their will to Russia, just period. But the president of Red Cross going to visit Russian right amid this whole war. I don't know. Like, I don't have a whole lot of trust for large organizations where,
Understand.
People that come to me and they're like, I just need to buy my cancer drug, and they can't get help anywhere for that, even though there's just millions of dollars being poured into giant nonprofit international organizations.
Yeah.
Where's it going? I don't know. Because normal people can't just get money, like to help with something like that.
So the bottom line is, if people want to help that are watching, listening right now, no matter where the hell they are, doesn't have to be just Vermont, anywhere, they should reach out to you.
I'll be happy to help. I mean,
on Facebook.
Whatever cause you want to support. You love animals, I have volunteers who help animals. You want to support elderly and disabled, I have volunteers who help them. Moms with newborns, I got people who deal with that. So whatever kind of advice you want on how to help, I'm happy to give it. I am doing, my daughter is doing a drive for children's clothing and sneakers. So that'll, I'm hoping to ship that to Ukraine, which, still logistics are difficult. Things might be taken out of the packages or might never get to where you think they're going to go, or, just there's always kind of this other side. But I'm very happy that the high schoolers on Nantucket are doing a drive for the children's clothing. So if someone wants to help, I'm happy to chat with them. And if you just Google my name, Yana Walder, Vermont, I think you probably come up with the website for the company that I work for, Lake Point Property Management. And you can find my email, my phone number. I'm out there.
Let's throw some love at Lake Point Property Management.
That's right.
Right here in Vermont, your employer.
Yeah.
They have been. How did they react to you? Oh yeah.
I mean, I think there's 12 or 13 of us, and I've been with the company for about 6 years, and I do a lot of leasing of office space. I know a lot of people in Central Vermont, like probably over 150 therapists are under my management. Shout out to Mental Health Month, right? Yeah. So I do love my therapists. When this whole thing happened, first of all, everyone supported, financially, so I'm able to send some money to Ukraine. And my boss just said, don't even worry about it. Just do your thing. Try to feel better. Try to eat. Try to get some sleep, and don't worry about work. It's going to be just fine. And for about 4 weeks, I was just in a complete black hole on the couch. Just I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't talk to anyone. It was just completely glued to my phone, waiting for like the most horrible news. That something happened to.
You're going through your own hell. I just can't imagine.
I don't even know. This is my therapist at the time. I did have one when the war started, and I actually stopped seeing her because I want to send the money to Ukraine. So, but she said, I'm also not qualified. This is not something that any of us have lived through or have experience with. So. To help with the war kind of topic. So.
I'm just so blown away by what I'm hearing from you.
The depth of the gut-wrenching suffering is really, it's every single one of those stories when I talk to these women is something else. It's, I don't know. Because one's worse than the previous one. So,
and yet, humans, we are so imperfect in so many different ways, and we get very easily distracted by our own struggles, the price of gas, the price of food, COVID, what's going on here in Vermont, what's going on in America, what just happened in Texas. This war in Ukraine has slipped down a couple of notches from being on the front page or at the head of the news. And we're distracted by many, many other things that are going on.
Well, it's easy, I think, for people. I think people have different reactions to this kind of really, really traumatic news. It's like numb out or ignore, right. Or activate, or help, you know. And I think that why I'm just completely deep dive in trying to help is because I don't want to really take in the sheer, scale of what just happened.
Magnitude of everything, yeah.
I mean, what just happened in Texas is the same. The violence towards children is just absolutely, I don't...
Yeah. Incomprehensible.
Yeah, and the war is the worst of it, but it's true.
This war is very, very much still going on. I mean, this is, you may unfortunately have to look through some of the other stories that are trending on your TV, on your phone, but man, shit is still big time real in Ukraine right now.
And I think it's going to get worse too.
This war is far from over.
The women that I'm talking to recently in the last week, probably a lot of them are talking about famine. Just because, of the inability to plant crops. And a lot of fields are mined. There's not enough fuel. And Russian soldiers, the Russians are just emptying the grain storage and taking all the seed potatoes and just hauling them out of Ukraine. They're just, they just fixed the railroad so they could loot a bunch of food from Ukraine.
I can't even.
It's very deep. I think I just think of myself, right? And I think if I was a pregnant woman who hasn't eaten in 4 days, and I reached out to someone in the United States asking for help, that they would, do something small, I think about myself, and that's what happened to me. You know, a woman called me while I was going to work, who, you know, she said, I haven't eaten in 4 days, and I'm just, you know, I don't even care if I have money or not. I'm going to send her whatever I have.
My God,
it's real stuff.
What do we do next? People can reach out to you.
Right.
I mean,
yeah, definitely. You just Google my name. You know, it'll come up. If you can't find my contact information, then you can find my email, my phone number. There was an article in Vermont Diggers, so you can search for that. And they have my email address in there as well.
And just that Digger article alone garnished, you said $20,000?
Yeah, $20,000 in about 4 days. Yeah, it's huge. And I've the money doesn't come to me on its own. Sometimes I have to make phone calls and ask my friends for it. But
Jeez.
It's over $80,000 now. So, you know, when the women come and they ask for my help and I don't have the money, I go to my friends, and that way I've been able to help with over $80,000. Yeah.
Just you?
Just me. And all my friends.
Yes, all your friends.
Yeah. I'm very lucky. It's I think I'm proud of what I've been able to do, just being a bridge for this kind of help. It's huge. I mean, you saw the screenshots of the sort of all the transfers and all the women and all their kids, and I think when you really put a face to the cause, it really hits, you know, in a very what is the right adjective for that? I don't know. In a different way. And I think what we're doing is important because people who are in the middle of just the absolute worst circumstances where help is not coming from anywhere, it seems like, to be able to get, I mean, we've all been there, you know, when you just chance upon just a little bit of cash. I mean, it could change a lot of things.
Thank you for coming on.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing your story. And can we stay in touch?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because we need updates. Very brave of you to come on and share your story. Thank you, Yana.
Thanks for having me.